Welcome to this training explainer. We're about to break down one of the most high-stakes maneuvers in the entire offshore industry, and that's positioning a DP jackup vessel. Our goal here, to take what seems like a really complex challenge and turn it into a disciplined, repeatable skill. Okay, let's dive right in. You see this image? That moment right there, the transition from being a floating vessel on DP to a platform standing on the seabed, well, that's where the risks are highest. So we're going to walk through the technical procedures you need to know to manage that risk with absolute precision and confidence. So here's what we've got on the agenda. Think of it like our virtual drill. First, we'll tackle the critical transition itself. Then we'll get into pre-mission risk analysis and the toolkit you'll need. And finally, we'll run through the exact procedures for going on location and getting off location safely. All right, Section 1, the critical transition. First things first, we've got to get to the heart of the matter. You really need to understand the fundamental conflict, the fight, really, that your systems are going to face during this operation.
This right here is the core danger. It's called soft pinning. See, your DP system is a perfectionist. Its whole job is to fight wind, waves, current, everything to hold an exact position. But the moment one of those legs touches the seabed, you've just introduced this massive physical anchor. The DP system doesn't understand that. It just sees the vessel isn't moving as it expects, so it thinks, oh, I must not be pushing hard enough, and it ramps up the thrust. And all that extra force puts incredible stress on your legs.
And it's not just about the legs touching down. Look at this. It's all about physics. When you're on DP with the legs up, your center of gravity is high, making the vessel behave one way. But as you jack down, lowering those legs, and eventually lifting the hull, that center of gravity plummets. It totally changes the vessel's stability and how it responds. The key takeaway? Your DP system's mathematical model has to keep up with this constant change, second by second. Okay, on to our next section, pre-mission risk analysis. And let me be clear, this is not just about ticking boxes on some forms. This is where safety truly begins. Proper planning, a thorough risk assessment, that's the line that separates a smooth, routine operation from a really bad day. So think of your risk analysis as having 4 pillars. You absolutely have to have a deep understanding of all 4 before you even think about starting. First, your vessel characteristics. How does it behave? Second, the environment. Wind, sea, current. Third, the site itself. What's the seabed made of? Is anything else nearby? And finally, and this is a big one, your DP system's performance. You have to know its limits and all its features inside and out. So, what are your environmental limits? How do you know if it's safe to operate? The answer is right there in your DP capability plots. And listen, these plots are not just a friendly suggestion. They define the absolute maximum conditions you can handle, specifically while considering a worst-case failure. You have to operate in a window where you know, for a fact, you won't lose position, even if something goes wrong. Now, think about this for a second. As those huge legs are lowered into the water, what happens? They act like giant sails under the surface, catching the current. This massively increases the drag on the vessel. And it's not an instant change, it's a gradual one. Your DP system has to be smart enough to recognize this happening and compensate for that changing profile in real time. Okay, but what happens if your positioning sensors get blocked? This is a huge risk, and you have to have a plan for it, because your primary systems, your DGPS and others, they are not foolproof, especially not during this specific maneuver. And this is why redundancy isn't just a nice to have, it's non-negotiable. As those legs lower, their massive steel structure can literally block the satellite signals your GPS needs. They can also mess with your acoustic positioning systems. So what's the solution? You need layers of defense. That means multiple independent reference systems running at all times. And it's always smart to have a third, maybe simpler system like a taut wire as a rock-solid backup. Okay, next section, your operational toolkit. Now that we've identified the risks, let's talk about the tools that make sure the whole operation is disciplined and safe. And I'm not just talking about the hardware here. I'm talking about checklists, communication, and most importantly, the crew. Let's be real. Procedure is everything. In an environment this critical, a checklist is not just paperwork. It's not a box-ticking exercise. It is your #1 defense against human error. It guarantees that the same, correct actions are taken every single time and ensures nothing, absolutely nothing, gets missed. And here are just a few examples. Look at the coordination that's built right in. The bridge has its own checklist for the DP system and references. At the same time, the engine room has its own list for propulsion and pumps.
The checklists themselves actually force that crucial communication, making sure the bridge and engine room are perfectly in sync before things get critical. And this quote from IMCA really hits the nail on the head. Poor communication can cause misunderstandings, and misunderstandings cause accidents. It's so simple, but it's so true. That clear, standardized talk between the bridge, the engine room, and the deck, it's just as critical as any thruster or GPS antenna. Everyone has to be on the same page. All right, let's get into the step-by-step procedure for going on location. We've done our risk analysis, we've got our tools ready. Now it's time for the main event, a safe touchdown. So, imagine you're on the bridge. This is phase 1. These first 4 steps are non-negotiable. First, you check the weather forecast and confirm you are well within your operational limits, the ones from your capability plots. Second, all checklists and permits are completed, no exceptions. Third, you test all your communication channels, primary and emergency. And fourth, you set up the DP system specifically for the conditions you're seeing right now, the sea state, the swell, the current.
Okay, now for phase 2, leg lowering. This is where things get really critical. You bring the vessel over the exact location, you lower the legs to just above the seabed, maybe 1 meter off, and then you pause. This pause is absolutely vital. I can't stress this enough. You are giving the DP computer a chance to stabilize and learn the new forces acting on those submerged legs. If you rush this part, the system is going to be working with bad data the moment you touch down. And now, phase 3, the soft pin and handover. Once everyone agrees, you pin the legs. Now pay very close attention to step 3 here. You switch the DP system to manual joystick mode with 0 thrust. You do not turn the system off yet. Why? Because by keeping that model active in the background, you have an instant escape route. If anything goes wrong during that initial pinning, you can immediately go back to full DP control. It's your safety net. Okay, we're on location, now let's talk about leaving. This isn't just doing everything in reverse. Leaving the location has its own unique set of really serious risks, and it demands just as much discipline. Phase 1 of departure is preparation. A lot of this will feel familiar. You review the weather, you agree on the vessel's departure route, complete your checklists, and lower the hull. But the really critical moment is the liftoff, when you start extracting the legs. The second those legs break free from the seabed, your vessel goes from being a fixed structure to a floating object in the blink of an eye. And all those environmental forces, they take over instantly. Now for phase 2, the transition. As soon as those legs are clear of the seabed, you engage propulsion but with 0 resultant force. Then you take control with the manual joystick. This is a hands-on, deliberate action. You are flying the vessel now, not the computer. You use that joystick to carefully move away from the location to a safe, predefined area. And this brings us to a huge warning, probably the most important takeaway for leaving location. Do not, I repeat, do not use auto DP mode right after lifting off. Think about it. The DP's mathematical model is based on a vessel that's been jacked up and stationary. It needs time to relearn how the vessel behaves as a floating object, especially with the legs still partially down, creating all that drag. A sudden command from an incomplete model could send you lurching in the wrong direction, and that could be catastrophic. So the procedure is clear. The checklists are complete. But are you ready for the watch? Because at the end of the day, these procedures are your guide, and the checklists are your guardrails, but they're just tools. The safety of the vessel, the crew, the whole operation, that rests on your discipline, your deep understanding of the systems, and your experience. That's what turns a high-risk maneuver into a controlled, professional, and safe evolution.